Hello and welcome to Adventures in Venueland, an EVMC podcast. Join us for this all-access pass backstage and behind the scenes with some of the brightest minds that cross the scope of the live event industry. I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. We'll introduce you to incredible guests who journey with us as we dive deep into the world of venues, tours, festivals, and everything in between. Grab your laminate and meet us in Venueland.
Hello and welcome to Adventures in Venueland, an EVMC podcast. I'm your host, Dave Rettelberger, along with my good friend, Paul Hooper. Paul, how you doing?
Great. How are you? We're approaching our favorite time of year soon.
Yes, so we are almost ready. You've heard us say the words EVMC, and maybe you're a regular listener to the podcast, or maybe you're just coming to the conference and this is your first episode. Either way, this is not the typical Adventures in Venueland episode. This is our EVMC preview for 2025. So what can you expect if you're coming to the conference June 4th through 6th in Atlanta? Not a sales pitch because we are officially sold out. How about that, Paul?
Hey, second year in a row, which is wild because we have never sold out before. And to have back-to-back years, I think that just means people need to jump on it earlier next time and get those tickets while they last, because clearly they're not lasting.
So in this episode today, we'll have some special guests who will kind of give you a little hint on what you can expect if it's your first time coming, or if you've come many times, what you can expect when we get down to Atlanta. So I thought we'd have our guests introduce themselves. We'll start off with Kim. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little about yourself, your role with EVMC, and kind of your history with EVMC.
All right. Thank you, everyone. My name is Kim Allen. I'm the current president of the EVMC conference. I have been coming to the conference for many, many years. I started as an intern way back in 2017 and have worked my way up to president today. On my current day job, I am the director of arena marketing for the Golden One Center in Sacramento, California. And so I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have this be our second annual EVMC and just happy to be here.
Roberta, let's turn things over to you. And we all still stumble a little bit over EVMC and EAMC. So tell us a little about you and your past and your role with EAMC, now EVMC.
Hi, I'm Roberta Wright. I was the director of marketing at the Cumberland County Civic Center in Portland, Maine for over 28 years. Had been in the industry for over 40 years. I retired about 10 years ago, but my involvement with the arena marketing and arena venue group goes back to the mid 1980s when I attended my first conference. This group has been so instrumental in training all of the folks in our industry. We can get into a little bit of that later, but I was delighted that you invited me to visit with you.
Yeah, thanks for coming out of retirement. Tell us what life is like on the other side. Is there really a retirement era?
It's awesome. It's awesome. It's, you can go to bed at a regular hour. You can get up at a regular hour, or you don't have to if you don't want to. You Amazing. Can hop on a plane and go somewhere, all good stuff.
Good to know there's a light at the end of that tunnel.
And then, to kind of make sure that the younger generation is represented from all us older folks. Meredith, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
All right. Thanks for having me. I'm Meredith Chappell. I am a marketing coordinator for the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, specifically Atlanta Symphony Hall Live. It's our more contemporary series. We have touring acts, comedy, rock, all of that. This will be my third year attending EVMC, third year in a row, actually. I've been in this industry for 2.5 years now, so this has been it for me. I love it. I grew up going to concerts in Atlanta specifically, so it was really just the perfect career for me. And EVMC has really helped me, meet other people in the industry, and it's my dream job.
It's got to be really interesting to have it come now to your city too, right? So you've had you've only come 2 years prior, and then all of a sudden you're like, it's coming to me, like we're going to be hosting it, and you're on the planning committee this year and helping with, marketing and communications committee under Megan Ebeck. But what is that like, sort of experiencing your first conference, which was Seattle, right?
Yes.
And which was the last EAMC, if you will. And then last year, which was EVMC, our first sold out conference. And now we've got another sold out one coming to your town. That's got to be an interesting experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember, first of all, being so nervous to go to Seattle for EAMC in 2023. 2023? Yeah. Just because, I didn't really know anything about the industry. I was familiar with marketing. That's what I studied in college. But I didn't know anyone outside of the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra bubble.
Yeah.
So it was really my first time, hearing other people, other venues, other theaters, experiences. And then I remember the lunch where it was announced that we were switching over from EAMC to EVMC, which was super exciting for me since my venue is only 1,800 capacity. And
Right.
so it really felt a lot more inclusive. And I was so glad to be a part of it. And I feel like last year, everyone on the EVMC team did a really great job of kind of integrating smaller venues into the agendas. So yeah, it was just really refreshing. And I feel like I've been able to learn so much and make so many great connections, specifically through EAMC.
That's great to hear because I remember that first conference that I went to and feeling kind of alone and like but there's people that are dealing with the same challenges that I have, and it was so inspiring. Roberta, you touched on it for a minute, but this has meant a lot to you and to people in this industry over the years, and it's offered a lot.
Well, yeah. I mean, you think back in 1980, there were 10 very forward-thinking members of the venue, mass assembly venue organization, if there was no formal organization, but they put their heads together and said, we really need to get together and talk about this. And there was no training path for people in arena or venue marketing. There were a few sports management programs, there were a few theater management programs, but nothing that touched on the kind of things that the arenas were doing in those days. And it was often, the box office managers and administrative assistants and assistant general managers who got called on to do some things when somebody got an idea. Somebody got an idea that says, we should invite a group of people to come. We could even offer them a discount. And oh yeah, well, the box office can handle that. Or it was maybe our grocery store sponsor would be interested in offering maybe a discount coupon for one of the shows. Well, the administrative assistant can handle that. Well, it became clear that there was a pathway here to sell a lot of tickets. And so forward-thinking general managers decided that, yeah, I think there's a place for a full-time person to do this.
Yeah.
And that's how this all evolved. But there was no training program for all of us. I started in the box office. I was a box office manager. But we knew the events inside and out. We knew who wanted to come to them. So the marketing side of it began to evolve from those of us who really knew what made up these events. And we sort of evolved into departments and departments with group sales and social media members. And it became a very big part of our industry. And the other thing that's very exciting about arena marketing jobs is that they're often the springboard to other parts of the industry. Many of the general managers in this industry came from arena marketing departments. And executives in the event side came from venue marketing people. So I think for the new folks to realize that this job they have today may not be their last job, probably won't be their last job if they don't want it to be. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a pathway to the Amy Latimers at Boston Garden, for example.
Yeah.
So it's the history, and it was always volunteer run because we wanted it to be germane to what was actually happening in our lives. We knew it better than anybody else. Networking was absolutely critical. It was the most important thing. We could pick up the phone and call someone across the country. It was important that large venues and small venues alike were equally respected and represented. That was a big goal throughout our entire existence. And I think we've done a good job at that. I mean, I feel like I could pick up the phone and call Los Angeles and ask a question, and they'd say, "Oh, hi, how are you? How's the weather in Maine?" So I think industry respect and the ability for new people to network with some veterans is one of the big goals of this organization.
I love that you mentioned, that it's all volunteer because people, often will sometimes say, "Oh, how are you not doing this?" We're making this up. We're doing this
Right.
plus our day jobs, right? It's pretty damn impressive. Kim Allen, what it takes to put this on. And but do you remember your first year? Do you remember, again, you're coming in as an intern, and I think what year was that? And how did you find success from that point?
It was in Dallas, and I believe it was 2007. And
2007, because I think that's right, that's right.
it essentially helped me start my career. It was one of those, I was going into my senior year. It was the summer before, and I went through the conference, and I loved the atmosphere, all the people, all the things I was learning. I hadn't officially even started my internship with the arena in Champaign, Illinois at the time. And so it was really my first jump into live events. And I loved it. And I started the year and I did a great job. And it was coming into my spring semester of my senior year. I'm like, I need to figure out what I'm going to do after I graduate. So I brought out, we used to have a book for the conference, and I looked through all the contacts, and I just started reaching out to people to say, can I set up an informational meeting? Can I talk to you? I looked to see what was open. I had big dreams. I was going to go to New York. I was going to go to LA. And I had reached out locally to Milwaukee, which was not far from where I was born and raised, and just to see. And that's where I ended up. They essentially created a marketing position because, like Roberta said, it was everyone kind of doing a touch of marketing, and they hadn't had an official marketing person. So they created this marketing coordinator position. And that's how I got my job, was through a contact via the book of an attendee of the conference. And so I was there for 9 years. And then that essentially, and all those relationships brought me to Sacramento because of who I knew and met and had found throughout the years with the conference. And so it launched my career.
I think you all have both hit so much on this networking, and certainly we'll talk about the agenda, which is always impressive every year, but really the networking. I mean, it is so critical. We really put a lot of focus on it on the planning side to try to make it easy for people. We've got, all these evening events, we've got downtime in between sessions. And I think also, that somewhat plays into it being sold out, right? Like there's other conferences that don't limit maybe as many people that are coming. And we made a decision a number of years ago that we want to keep it at a certain amount of people because we want it to have that special feel of, I'm going to see Meredith at a session in the morning, and I'll probably bump into her again at lunch. And then I might see her at another session the next day and then that next evening. And so you're getting multiple touch points with the same people. And, it's allowing you to expand your circle. It's not going to kind of keep you in your bubble with like one or two people because you're going to see the same people over and over again. And I think that's really important part that we've kept it, limited to as many people as it is, which there's still a lot of people. So it's not like we capped it at 20. There's like, going to be over 500 people there, but we are very cognizant in kind of creating and keeping that special sauce that makes EVMC what it is.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that, especially my first year in Seattle. I went with my team. I met people But I really stuck with my team. And then last year in Denver, I went alone. My team couldn't make it, so it was just me. I was terrified. I
Uh-huh.
talked myself into it. I was like, I'm not going to be able to talk to anyone. I'm not going to meet anyone. I'm so nervous. But you really do, like, you run into people that you've met previously. Everyone is so friendly and welcoming. And if you push yourself to like really, communicate with others and like just bond, I feel like you make such meaningful connections. And honestly, that's what pushed me to join the planning committee, is because like I want to keep in touch with these people. I want to stay connected with them.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because Meredith, I think it's that thing of you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to reach out. I'm the kind of person. My wife knew me in college as the guy who sat in the back row of class, right? Because I was always just kind of kept to myself and did my own thing. But I remember I went to that first conference I went to, and I saw a guy on a panel speak, and I was like, "Oh, he's got some really good ideas." And so I hooked up with him after the show or after the conference, and that's Paul Hooper, right? And that's Paul who I've been doing a podcast with for so many years. But it's because I was like, he's got good ideas. I should connect with him, and that we were able to form. Roberta, you can speak to this. You hear it all the time. It sounds cheesy, but it's lifelong connections and lifelong friendships.
Oh man, is it ever? Tammy Coolback and Kara Vander have been in my dining room in the last 12 months. I fed them lobsters. We have all
We should have done this
Yeah.
right all in the Bruce.
Come on up, all the lobster you can eat. But it's really true. And I think the other thing that is, that I want to emphasize is that it's small venue, it's large venue. It doesn't matter. The networking crosses those lines.
Absolutely.
It's not one management group versus another management group. People interact from what used to be considered competing management groups. That's all left at the door at this conference. We treat each other as individuals. It doesn't matter who you work for. We are a group, a solid group, and we leave all of the competition at the door with this organization, and I think that's critical. But yeah, lifelong friendships, absolutely.
And I think sometimes you can, if you find yourself to be a little nervous or a little introverted or whatever it might be, uh, if you find some people on the planning committee, so we'll identify ourselves. You'll see us on badges. It'll say planning committee board. If you find some Hall of Fame people, Geeky Award winners, anyone like that, we can help get you there. So like if you're kind of nervous and you're like, oh my gosh, you're listening to this like, oh, they're really telling me I have to push myself. Give us 20%, we'll drag you the rest of the 80. Like, trust me. Like,
We're not a quiet group.
exactly.
No.
We'll pull you in and we'll introduce you to other people, and it's really easy. And like Dave said, is obviously I connected with him many years ago, and we've of course become friends and co-host this little diddly of a podcast. But I remember so vividly when I first joined the planning committee, which was back in 2011 or 12 or something like that, sitting down in my first planning committee meeting right next to this redheaded woman, Roberta Wright. And Roberta's like, who are you? And we introduced each other because I'd never met her. I'd only been to the conference maybe kind of like you, Meredith, maybe 1 or 2 years before joining. And then, like, before I know it, Roberta's like, oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes. I'll look after you. Like, here's all these people. Gave me the lay of the land. I mean, it's kind of like amazing, but that's just the nature of everything. People want to bring you in. They want you to feel at home. And we all uniquely understand each other's struggles like no one else at your current business, outside of marketing. And I think it makes the bond really quick. Everyone's kind of been in the same trenches together. So it's like, oh my gosh, we both had that tour where we got the art late, or we both had this difficult artist, or we both had to figure out what the hell to do for an artist gift for this person that has everything. And immediately that's like a really quick icebreaker that makes it easy to network.
It's such a big piece of it is reaching out and talking to people, and you're going to feel often that you like, oh, everybody feels like they know each other because we're excited to see old friends, but definitely Don't hesitate to introduce yourself. Don't hesitate to get up, sit with an unfamiliar table at lunch. It's a very, very welcoming group. Kim, let's get into the meat and bones of this because we've got a lot planned for Atlanta. But give us a brief overview of what attendees can expect there the week of June 4th.
Perfect. Yeah. And so, like we've been saying, it's a very friendly group. And, to kick it off, we'll have this new team building event that we'll be doing this year. We've typically been doing scavenger hunts throughout, the city. We took into account that Atlanta will be hot and humid. And so we're bringing it all inside and we're doing a family feud of sorts. And so, it'll be fun. It'll be new, but I still think it'll be great excitement and ways for people to network and get to know each other in a new setting. So definitely look at that. As we've also mentioned, transitioning to EVMC, we wanted to make sure we continue to tell the story from, small clubs and theaters up to anywhere to stadiums. And so we are definitely making sure that we are connecting on all of those levels. But taking it a step further, I've had people approach me saying, I'm a team of one. My struggles are different than those that have full-on departments. And so we're trying to make sure that we're getting that, answered for you as well, so that we can connect you to those people that are a team of one that have to do so many things versus teams that have, 5, 6 people on their team. And so we've heard you. We want to make sure that we're taking care of you as well. So, those are all things that we're making sure we're connecting on. Other new things are, it's our 10th annual EVMC Awards. And to even take it a step further, we're doing it at the Fox Theater this year as an evening event. And so I think that this truly tells the story of where we've come within the last 10 years of, trying to highlight everyone that's coming to this conference, all the hard work that is being done throughout the year, with your departments. I feel like marketing is always one that gets overlooked, overshadowed. People love to take, credit for all the things that we help put together. So this is where we're acknowledging all of us.
Yes. And we're usually the ones like selling the other people to get awards, right? And we're not necessarily looking inward towards ourselves. So it's great to highlight that.
And there's so many other different topics and things like that. But, we want to also make sure that we're being understanding of everything that's coming. And one thing that's, very unique to this season is like the road to the FIFA World Cup. We know that a lot of venues that are coming to the conference are hosting next year. And so we want to make sure that, for those that are interested or just want to understand like the large level of this type of event that's coming to some of our, neighbors or even to our home venues that we're touching on that. So if not, it's something that we do. We can at least try to learn from what that is being done and taking it and making it useful for us.
So when we look at, at the conference, and there's a lot of stuff to keep track of, a lot of amazing sessions. Kim, the mobile app is key, correct?
Correct. And so, any last minute updates to schedule, room updates, things that will be in there. Your connection to all the people that have registered will also be there. And so it's, we're trying to make it a one-stop shop for anyone that needs to have any information at their fingertips. And so for those that are, app averse, you can also find a lot of that on our website as well. You just won't be able to get those connections via the registrants that are coming to the conference.
Meredith, I know for a lot of folks who are maybe attending their first conference, the big question is, what am I supposed to wear? What are people dressed like? So kind of talk to us, give some advice out there for that first timer who's coming, who's not sure what to wear for both the conference and also for the evening events. What do you recommend?
And for Atlanta, as we mentioned, which is warm.
Yeah, that's definitely a big part of it. I would definitely say business casual during the day. It's always cold in the conference room, so definitely would advise to bring a jacket. I will say in Atlanta during the summers, it's close to Florida weather where it rains just randomly throughout the day for maybe like 30 minutes. So pack something that, that you can get around in, that you won't be scared to get rained on. Just be prepared for that. It's obviously I'm no meteorologist, so I can't, confirm anything, but definitely be aware that that's a possibility. For the night activities, I feel like everything we've done is very active, fun, more casual. I feel like if you want to express yourself through your clothes, definitely do that. I feel like it's a lot less buttoned up than the actual conference itself, but I would definitely recommend comfortable shoes for the night activities.
Yeah.
I feel like we usually do a lot of walking, some dancing.
Yeah.
if the night gets a little crazy. Um, so definitely, yeah, comfortable, but you want to look nice. You're meeting new people, but yeah, feel free to express yourself.
It's so important to attend that first timers event. Kim, will you talk to us a little bit about, that event and kind of how that works for people who are coming for the first time?
Yes, and so that really kicks off at the very first day on Wednesday. If you're a first timer, definitely make sure you stop by there. You get an introduction to a lot of the veterans of the group. You get an introduction to all the committee heads that work so hard throughout the year to put on the conference itself. And it's really an introduction to other first timers. And so you'll be randomly put into groups and, have your first like somewhat casual networking group. And so that could be your group that you kind of connect with throughout the conference itself, or just like, another touch point throughout the week. And so it's just something that will give you a chance to just start seeing those faces on like where you're all on the same page. You're all first times, you're all new to this. And so, we wanted to make sure to try to make you as comfortable as possible.
You're exactly right too, because I think like the first timer and that first team building stick out to me so much in my mind from the first year I went. And I can vividly remember every single person on that team because I didn't know a lot of people. But then it's like, okay, I know these 8 people. So I can go find them at the evening event and share a drink with them. And then, oh, they introduced me to 3 other people. But it's kind of amazing that, it sort of jump starts your networking for you, where you've got this little core group that you've done some fun activities with or you've talked to, and it sort of, gets you rolling if you are a first timer.
That's really true. It was when I was on the planning committee the first year we introduced the team building event and as a scavenger hunt. And it may have been Boston, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, the whole purpose of it was exactly that. It was a big icebreaker event where people are randomly thrown together. And as Paul said, that's exactly right. From that moment on, that group of 10 or 12 people. And that's the beginning of the networking that goes through the entire event. So yeah, it's really important.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a team building person, right? I'm the person who would avoid team building at all costs, except for EVMC, because that's the place where I've met so many people. So if you are kind of in that situation that Meredith was describing, where maybe you're not coming with your team, definitely encourage you to, you may think, I don't know if I want to do it, because you're gonna get a lot out of it. Kim, can you reveal any secrets about what we have planned for team building this year?
It's just Family Feud. And so, if you know the game, you'll kind of understand. But, I'll leave it at that. I don't want to give away too much.
And make sure to submit your answers because I know mine were wild. My responses, they were a little out of pocket, but
Meredith is going to be the one where it's got like one person answered this.
Exactly.
Meredith, let's talk a little bit about Atlanta, because I feel like, a lot of people have been there. Maybe some people haven't been there in a while. So first of all, it's not a small airport. This is not Tulsa.
Busiest airport in the world. And I've been saying that fact my entire life, but it still holds true. As far as transportation goes, I would definitely recommend Ubering from the airport. I know that MARTA is an option.
That's the subway, right?
Yes, yeah. So MARTA is like Atlanta's subway system. It's not the most efficient and widespread throughout the city, but it gets the job done. I would recommend doing it while the sun is out,
Nice.
and only taking it to and from the hotel from the airport. If you want to explore the city, I definitely recommend Ubering.
And you definitely recommend doing an Uber from the airport to the hotel.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's not too far, so it shouldn't be crazy expensive. But at least for me, safety is my highest priority.
Certainly. And pay attention to the time of day, right? If you're getting in late at night or you're leaving late at night, maybe,
Absolutely.
If people are used to public transportation, be smart, travel with some other buddies. If you're going to use it, or, just hop in an Uber or Lyft. And,
exactly. And I feel like that can be said for Atlanta in general. I mean, we all travel. We all get out, hopefully enough. Just don't be stupid. don't go places alone at night, like in dark
Right.
alleys. Make sure you have a buddy, make sure that like you're out in the open and you should be okay. I feel like Atlanta is definitely not as scary as some people may think. But
Yeah.
like I feel completely safe here as a young woman.
And it's a great, I mean, maybe we could hit on that too. It's a great city with so many things happening. Like I know we mentioned the different venue sizes, right? With
Mhm.
EVMC. I mean, when I think of cities that have a wide mix of venue sizes, Atlanta jumps really high up on that list. You certainly have the Fox where we'll have the awards, but you've got Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is where the Falcons and Atlanta United play. You've got our great friends at State Farm Arena, where we've got an evening event, which is where the Hawks play. But then there is so many other venues that are all different sizes. Really iconic venues, I would say too. So, it may be worth, if you've got a free evening, checking out some of the local shows that are going on. Go see a show at some of these other small venues. And then there's a pretty big food scene, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm such a foodie. I cannot recommend many of the Atlanta restaurants. Especially, I feel like if you're looking to kind of explore Atlanta, I would recommend like right outside of Midtown, Old Fourth Ward, Inman Park, Virginia Highlands, maybe even West Midtown. It's so lively, great food scene, and people are always just out and about and enjoying themselves.
There's a great like touristy area, right? But a lot of people like if they wanted to visit the aquarium or the Coca-Cola Museum. What is that whole area called?
I guess technically it's downtown, but it's kind of surrounding Centennial Olympic Park.
Right. Okay, that's
Um,
right.
yeah, and so that's mainly downtown. Downtown is more touristy, and I feel like the rest of the city is, more regular people kind of just enjoying and living their day-to-day lives.
And there is a cool tourist scene, obviously, like you said, you've got World of Coke. So if you've never been to that, it's pretty interesting. You can try Cokes from all over the world. Uh, and you've got one of the biggest aquariums in the world in the Atlanta Aquarium, which has got whale sharks and narwhal, or not narwhals, sorry, whale sharks, no narwhals. You've got all kinds, penguins, all kinds of things, and then you do have this really iconic park that was, constructed for the Atlanta Olympics in '96. So it is kind of this hub that if you've got
College
family
Football
coming
Hall
in
of
town
Fame's
with
right
you,
down there. Yeah.
College Football Hall of
Yeah.
Fame, yeah. So like if you've got family coming in town with you, if you're sticking around for a Saturday or Sunday and you're looking for something to do and kind of to hit some touristy spots, they certainly have them.
Yeah. Also, not to plug myself, but or
Plug
my
it.
organization, um, the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra is part of the Woodruff Art Center, which is, I believe, the third largest art center in the country, and it's home to the High Museum of Art as well as the
Yes.
Alliance Theater. So I love the High Museum of Art. I think they have some incredible pieces. If you have some extra time while you're in Atlanta, definitely check that out. It's right in the heart of Midtown, great restaurants around it. And obviously, you can come see where I work.
There you go. Kim, will you touch a little bit on what the layout is for this year's event at the hotel, or what we're doing? Because I know it was a little different in last year in Denver. So what we can expect this year, and kind of how, and also how the meals will be handled.
Yes, and so last year we were in a convention center. We're taking it back within the hotels, and so everything will be within the hotel, and there'll be signage everywhere to let you know where things are at, and it'll be really self-contained, and so you can't get lost. You won't have to worry about any of that. You won't have to worry about walking to the destination, and so I think it'll be something that'll be really easy for everyone that's coming through. And then, we are having all of our lunches hosted, so make sure you come for that. And then throughout the day, you'll have light snacks and beverages for the mornings. You will have coffee breaks, and so we will make sure you're caffeinated and have your snacks and food to be energized as much as you can be throughout the event.
It's important you also have your name badge on at all times. There's also some great opportunities that you can help us with fundraising through the silent auction and 50/50. Roberta, have you ever won anything cool through the 50/50 or silent auction?
Yes, I got the Cirque du Soleil mask one year. It was one of the things that I
Ooh.
really, really wanted. And I'm trying to think of other things. I think there were a couple other, but I never won any of the really like fabulous, tickets or, I'm just, yeah. But yeah, there's some really wonderful stuff. One of the things that Kim said, I think is really important to remember too, is that most of the events are sponsored, the lunches, the dinners, the meals. And it's important to go to those, not only to support the sponsors who put up a great deal of money to sponsor those events, but also it's the way that we can keep the conference affordable. We go to cities where hotel rates are as reasonable as they can be. So it's off season in these cities. We get events sponsored, so you're not having to go to your general manager and saying, I need a per diem to go to these events because your meals are covered. It's always been the goal of this organization to keep this conference affordable because none of us ever had an extra $2,500 in our budget to send somebody to one of these conferences. So that's always been a big goal.
Thank you for mentioning that because it is. And you know what else is cool is when you visit the sponsors, a lot of times you may learn something about them and that's the great stuff to take back to your GM and kind of say, oh, hey, I met this company and they do this. I know this may not be right for us, but something definitely to keep an eye on or whatever it is. It's a really easy way to do that, Roberta.
And Dave, you're absolutely right. And not only are you networking with your peers, you're networking with events.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so much of our business, even today, is relationship oriented.
Amen.
If you have a solid relationship with event representatives, it puts you one leg up on getting that event back to your building. And it's really critical because not only are you marketing the events that come to your building, you're marketing your venue to these events. Competition is great in attracting events. So the more relationships you develop with the event personnel and making yourself indispensable to them, it's more likely you're going to get that event back.
And it's critical too because when you have built these relationships with some of these reps, and sometimes they're moving jobs from one promoter to another, or whatever it is, you sometimes will get that email saying, hey, here's your new rep, or we're going to hop on a call to introduce everyone. And then you're like, oh, we shared a beer in Atlanta. Like, it's like immediately you have this connection with them and talk about like building this trust. So where when you have a crazy marketing idea or they have one or they maybe make you an ask and you're kind of like, we shouldn't do this. It is so much easier if you already have this connection with someone and then they come to
Exactly.
town and you're like, let's go grab a bite together because we've already hung out with each other. So that's like really, really valuable too. It's a good point. It's not necessarily just the other event people that you can kind of lick your wounds with, but it's also these people that are coming to your city that you're going to be working on shows with, in the future.
Or you hop on a plane in Boston, Massachusetts, and fly to Seattle to give Tammy Allen her Gigi Award
Right.
because
Exactly.
you had a relationship with Stars on Ice for since its inception.
Yes.
Tammy has become a great friend. Stars on Ice played our building, the smallest building on the tour, for a lot more years than we had any business having that event because of the relationship we had with Byron and Tammy.
That's great. Oh, we're going to go around the horn before we wrap things up and let everybody have a chance to give one last piece of advice. This could be something that we just didn't cover or something that's general. So think of one, more or less important piece of advice. I'll start off to give you guys time to think of one. But for me, it's definitely to be present. When you were at the conference, you've got your emails coming in from work. And yes, you've got, things that are, fires you got to put out. But as much as possible, I encourage you to be present. Put the phone away. You'll have breaks where you can check things. And I always get up early every morning, even after the late nights, and spend an hour in my hotel room, kind of clearing things through the best I can. But when you're at a session, the more that you can put your phone away and actually be engaged with the presentation, that's what you're there for. So I just encourage everyone to really take that time to enjoy the process and make those new connections. And the best way to do that is by letting yourself be present. Paul?
Yeah, I'll dovetail off of that a little bit and say to make sure you show up, participate in all the things on the agenda. It's easy if you're going out late some night, and certainly people will be doing that. And, you'll have evening events, and then you'll have those kind of turn into people going out to some fun local bars and stuff. But it's easy to be like, oh, I was out late. Maybe I'll just skip a few sessions in the morning or whatever. Show up in the morning, and if it means you get a little less sleep for a few days, that's fine. You can always recharge the batteries when you get home. But you really want to take full advantage. And so, don't peel off halfway through the day and go, bowling or go get food somewhere else. Like, be there, show up at the events, go to sessions throughout the day, network. It's really important to kind of like pull it all in. And I promise it won't be boring. It'll be fun. It'll be exciting. You'll meet a ton of people, and you'll still be, plenty of fun to be had.
Paul, you are the king of staying out late but still being up early the next morning with a smile on your face. Age will catch up with you one day, my friend.
I think it already has, but I will still do it. It's one of those things. I think I've like compartmentalized my body to be like, this is just that week, once a year. Here's the week, and you kind of like. I feel like in Vegas, I crunched the numbers, and I think I slept like 14 hours over the whole week or something ridiculous because I had FOMO. So I was like, I'm going to stay at the bar till 2 or 3 in the morning to hang out with every person and chat with them. And then, oh, guess what? We've got breakfast at 7 a.m. the next day. I guess I'll be up for that. So you're right. I mean, you don't have to go quite that extreme as I did, but certainly I think, you want to take full advantage and meet people. And, usually one of the great things, kind of like what Kim was saying with having it at this hotel, kind of all in one place, is really, I guess that's my second tip. That's your home base. So like you can go out, you can go to, whatever, karaoke, do whatever. You come back to that hotel, everyone else from the conference is also kind of coming back from various locations. And that is when some of the best networking is happening. It's when people are kind of calming down from the night. They're hanging out in the hotel, couches or whatever with a little nightcap. And it is just the best time.
And if you ever want to get out an event early, maybe the event's starting to wrap up and you're not sure you want to go out to the after party, I'll share an Uber with anybody back to the hotel because I'm probably crashing early.
There you go.
Kim Allen, how about you?
I would say, this is all done by volunteers. And so take and learn as much as you can. But if you feel like you're missing something, let us know. This is how we make it bigger and better for future years to come, is that, we feel like we're hitting on the topics that are true right now. But maybe there's something that we didn't hit on this year that you wanted us to. Maybe there's something else that we're missing. Let us know that. And, just tell one of us that's on the planning committee, just, stop by registration, let Shelby know. But, this is as good as it can be based on all of us. And so take your time, enjoy, learn, and then take back and, show where your places of work, how much you've learned, and that, this was worthy of coming to, and that you need to come back for future years.
That's a great point. And if you feel like there's something that we're missing and you want to join, help us build the better machine.
Sure.
Like usually we open up a planning committee, or whatever, I guess a form to join or submit your name after the conference. So like if you come and you're like, I love this energy, I feel like we should be doing this, like join us, help us do it.
Help us get better.
We're always looking for new, fun, exciting people to kind of join the squad.
Meredith, how about you?
I'm honestly very upset that Paul went before me because he said almost everything that I was going to say. But I want to second that because I feel like, you're exhausted after these things, your social battery is running low, like after the sessions during the day, but you make all of your best connections later in the evening, whether that's at, the hosted events or when we break off and go to bars. I feel like you develop such deeper connections with people. You can talk about work, you can talk about your personal lives. And I think that kind of breaks down the barrier between like colleague and friend.
Right.
And
yeah.
I think that's really what brings us all back year after year. So yeah, Paul said it first, but but I still feel very strongly about
and you don't
that.
have to drink. If you're sober, still come out and have
Yeah,
fun.
no, I mean,
I'm not
it's a
a
great
drinker, but I
time.
go out and I have a blast. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great time. But I guess if I have to be original, I would say that I think taking notes and not being scared to ask questions during the session is really important. I know
Yes.
sometimes we kind of just wait. We're like, oh, well, maybe someone else will ask the question that I'm thinking. But, there's nothing stopping you, especially in a room full of people that you don't know. Like, if you embarrass yourself, then you embarrass yourself. But honestly, within this group, that's not going to happen.
Well, and that's such a good point too, because usually if you're thinking of a question, there's about 20 other people sitting in that room with you who have the same question and no one's wanting to ask it. And you can know that because usually when someone raises their hand and they're like, I wondered about that, you'll hear everyone else in the room like, yeah,
Yeah,
like this kind of like
exactly.
sigh of relief. So like, yeah, ask the question. There's no, there's no wrong questions or anything, have fun with it.
As the one who is old enough to be all of your grandmothers,
Yes,
I will
please.
say, I will say I agree with everything everybody said. But it's probably a good idea to try and get a little sleep, but it's critical to stay hydrated. Hydrate,
Yes.
hydrate,
Ooh,
hydrate.
Yes.
critical tip.
That's always my first thing I do is locating the water stations when I get to
Yeah.
the conferences.
Roberta, I'm so grateful to have you and from your years of attending and being a part of EVMC and EAMC back in the day. Let me ask you this one last piece of advice here. When you're looking at that schedule and you see the agenda, how are you deciding? What would you recommend for people is the best way to kind of figure out what sessions to go to and kind of make their plan?
Well, I think there will be some sessions that jump out that say this is a must attend for me because it's something I'm dealing with right now. If there are other sessions that you're sort of mixed about, I would encourage you, especially if you've been in the industry for a few years, branch out. The more you know about the business, the better off you are. And so if you're a marketing person and you've been to marketing sessions for a couple years, go to a group sales session, go to a
Mm-hmm.
PR session, look at something a little differently, and you'd be surprised how many great ideas that you will get from just that sort of broadened perspective, or how you will become a little bit more attuned to a colleague who's dealing with something that you hadn't quite thought of. And maybe there's a way you can help them. I think that's important. I think there's a lot of cross pollination that can go on at this conference. And especially for people with one person shops, it's really great to be able to jump across you're handling group sales, you're handling PR, and you're also handling marketing and event and media buying. So you can get a little bit of all of that at this conference. You don't have to stay right in the path of what your primary job responsibility is. It may open up some doors for you. If you're a group salesperson, attend a marketing conference. Maybe there's an opportunity for you to jump from group sales into the marketing department, and you may end up at a director of marketing for a venue. So there's a lot of cross pollination, and it's a great place to take advantage of that.
Madam President, if someone still has a question after all these wonderful words of wisdom, what's the best place for them to go to? If they didn't talk about that one thing, and I just desperately need to know.
I would say, find us on social, or you can just send us a note into our questionnaire on our website. So there's ways that you can find us to contact us directly.
Hey, everybody, thank you so much for the time. I'm so excited to see everybody in Atlanta and just looking forward to a great conference. Anybody have anything else they want to throw out there? Anything they want to plug? Any last words? All right. On that happy note, we're going to wrap things up. Paul, did you have something?
Yeah, so I will put in one little plug, a little self-serving plug for us, but I will be with Mr. Rettelberger here, and we will be hosting is this our fourth live podcast this year?
That sounds right.
I think it's the fourth
Yeah, that's
live
right.
one
That's
in
right.
person. So be sure to join us if you're heading. And I don't know if we've officially announced this yet, but we'll go in and say it. But we've got Jay Carter, who's the founder of One Music Festival, One Music Fest, I should say, who's joining us, and it should be great. The live podcasts, they have a special energy to them. We often try to do questions and stuff at the end, and be sure to join us. Come have fun. Come with some questions in mind, and we hope to see you there.
Yeah, we'd love to. We'd love if you're a listener to the podcast, please come up and say hello. We love to hear that we're not just speaking, yelling into a void. So
Right.
it's always appreciated. And on that happy note, we'll wrap up this very special Know Before You Go episode of Adventures in Venueland. Remember, you can always find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Please do leave your 5-star reviews. It does help others find us. Until the next adventure, I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. We will see you in Atlanta. It will be here before we know it.
Adventures in Venueland is a side project of the Event and Venue Marketing Conference, a marketing conference that brings together diversified event and venue professionals to cultivate education, collaboration, and innovation for the growing sports and live entertainment industry. Find out more at eventvenuemarketing.com.
Audio editing and mixing by Camille Faulkner.
Design and digital advertising by Megan Ebeck.
Copywriting and publicity by Samantha Marker.
Guest booking and brand strategies by Paul Hooper.
Guest research by Dave Rettelberger.
Marketing strategies by Paul Hooper, Megan Ebeck, and Samantha Marker. Thanks for joining us. Until the next adventure.